Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spiritual Relationship Podcast. My name is Ken Hanneman, and my wife Hannah here. Both of us, we are medical professional. We're in healthcare, and also we have many years of meditation experience. And the real purpose of this podcast is about using spiritual values in everyday life, and we'll share our own life experience. So I hope maybe you, you can use some of it. Today's topic is cooperation. This word cooperation, it seems to remove the self because it involves many others, which means that it is a quality of love, and maybe it's the essence of love because it calls for some amount of adjustment on your part to be able to interact with others in a way that everybody benefits or the goal is achieved. It's more like goal orientation. And when the goal is achieved as a team or as a family, then everybody benefits. So we could see how it is a spiritual value. So I'm going to share some examples in my life, and Anne will also share. So I would ask her to, if she has something to add to that.
Yeah, we were
definition.
we were discussing cooperation, and I think, and Ken was agreeing with me, that cooperation is the most elevated spiritual power. And you could also call it a spiritual awareness or a stage, but it's the most elevated. And I think because it requires the most purity of heart and the most, if you want to say, sacrifice of something, which we're going to talk about in the examples, because in order to be cooperative or truly loving, we need to remove selfishness. We need to remove desires. We need to look at ourselves and take care of ourselves. And that's where the interesting thing comes, like Ken was saying, it's like other focus, but it's really yourself too, because I'm part of it. I'm part of this landscape. So when I become more pure of heart and I become more myself, like authentic, then I show up totally different. So share the experience at work, because he did a really good job with this at work.
Yeah. Well, I've been working at this job for about 20 years, and for the last 10, I was moved to a different. I moved to a different facility, and they were opening up a new department, and I had some seniority, so I had the aim that I would probably be the head of the department. But I guess that was not they. That's not what the supervisor had in mind, maybe. Anyhow, we worked hard. We got everything going, and everything. It was a team, and everybody got along like a family. Which was great. And the time came to find a manager for that department, and they brought somebody from outside. I knew the person anyhow, but they brought somebody from outside, not from within. And it was fine, we worked with that or whatever. But then eventually I realized that if anybody got a promotion in front of me, then I begin to have some real bad feelings about that. And all kinds of thoughts will come to your head, and you're beginning to think, do I belong here? Or all kinds of thoughts. I don't even want to mention them. You would probably know what happens at work and the competition that goes along with that. But then I decided, let me apply something here. Let me see. Okay, first of all, I like this job. I'm good at it. Two, my salary is coming as it should. Nobody's messing around with that. So the other part, I said, let me now give up the desire for that position. Let me focus on doing what I'm being paid to do. And most of all, let me give cooperation. Let me interact with others in a way that I can make their life a little better. I don't have to be a savior. I just have to pay a little attention of being aware when somebody might need help or they need support or something like that. And I did that for many years. And eventually that desire went away completely. All those ill feelings went away. And the relationship really worked out so well that even now that I'm retired, I left there knowing that they had good feelings about me. I also have a good memories, fond memories, and I realized what I gained from that was a personal satisfaction, was a feeling of no regret, a feeling that working with people is not about position and money. It's also about connection, and it's also about how you make somebody else feel. And like people remember how you make them feel, not what you say to them.
Mm.
And that's a valuable lesson for me. And now that's the focus of my relationship with others. So I would say that's my experience of the power of cooperation.
For me, my example was also at work, and I always wanted to be in leadership, and I there was a job that came up that I applied for. And this was so significant for me. This moment was so significant for me that whenever I share in these classes, I always share this because this was the biggest heartbreak ever. Everything that I thought about myself professionally was kind of on the line for this job. And when I didn't get it, I was really, really upset. Like for years, I was devastated. And at that time at work, I was not happy. I mean, I was still good at it. And this is what Ken Ken didn't talk about this part of it, but you're still working. Maybe you can all relate to this. You're still working, you're putting on a brave face, but your heart is not happy, right? So maybe in those moments, if my heart is not happy, maybe I'm not as fully cooperative as maybe I could be. And I've noticed there was one time where somebody at work actually talked to the boss and said, you should give Ann something, or and the boss was like, no. Now, looking back, I know why, or at least I think I know why she said no, because my attitude was bad. If I come into work every day and think of how unfair it is, how much I'm hurt, whatever, that's not a good attitude by any measure, okay? So I think that was what happened, but it all turned around. So what happened was I ended up getting another job, and what I really wanted, see, I found out what I really wanted. And I don't know if you have this experience too. Like you just said, it's not just about work, it's about relationships, right? And for you, that's kind of like what you left with. For me, what I wanted was to be able to create a team or influence a team or be a leader of a group of people and have an influence. That's what I wanted. And guess what?
No,
It
you've
ended
done
up
it.
happening
Mhm.
in the job that I got. I don't have a title. I don't have, but what I had was a new department where I ended up training everybody.
Yeah.
I ended up being the most senior person or whatever. And I actually got to create not just the work, but also the way we interact, the way we deal with each other, the way we care about each other. And I'm very, very proud of that. So for me, cooperation is the highest. And in my job now, we all always say, this is the best job I ever had. We love the team. We're so happy. And each of us is able to express ourselves, and we're able to create something for the team or do process improvement or whatever. It's wide open. And one of the things that I did when I trained everybody was that I trained them about the principle. And I said, you can do it however you want, but this is the principle. And that gives freedom.
Yeah.
So I really feel proud, and they're happy.
Yeah.
So that's cooperation, right? Like I got to fulfill my pure desire. Like I would
Yeah.
say your pure desire was to have good relationships, right? You could say that's what you said, right? So like, and I got my pure desire, and everybody's happy.
Yeah.
So that's cooperation.
Yeah. And even in a family, if you
Same
look at
thing.
the the, each personality that would have certain
Yes.
desires or a need for a certain amount of self-expression or whatever. And I should be careful not to imprison somebody with my directions and rules and my opinions. And I have to be allowing. I have to allow for everyone to bloom. And I think that's the best form of cooperation. So I see that with children. As they grow up, you have to change your relationship. as they get to a point where they're becoming more individuals, and they're developing their own unique personality. You need to recognize that and step back a little bit and be available. You can't just be, oh, I'm the boss, I'm the father, I'm the parent, I am. You can't do that. In spiritually too, in this, we're in a group. It's a big group. It sometimes you can't think of getting a position, or you're fighting. You're always in competition with others. Just be cooperative, and whatever you're
Task or
suited or
whatever
tasked with,
task is at
yeah,
hand.
it will. Something will be there that will actually be right for you.
And that happened with us too, with this podcast also, and with the service that we're doing with the spiritual organization that we belong to. Where it seems like what's coming is exactly suited, you know? And so maybe we can kind of end it with the principle again, the underlying principle. Cooperation is not necessarily just about you doing what's right for everybody physically, but it's really includes a self-reflection, understanding of what's going on. Am I angry? Am I bitter? Am I upset? Am I controlling? Am I like, what is my inner landscape? And can I begin to let that go and be there with a pure heart? And even, we didn't talk about this, but sometimes if it's a job, you're there for the money. Maybe we have to be really clear about what it is we're doing. And one last thing, when we were talking about this, cooperation, you can be yourself, and eventually the circumstances will change to make it look like what we want it to look like. But at first, maybe it isn't that way. And that's why cooperate means to do good within the circumstance. I'm not going to be angry. I'm not going to be resentful. I'm not going to be but I still have my own pure wish. You don't sacrifice yourself, your heart. You don't sacrifice your own heart. I believe that if I'm in touch with my own feelings and in touch with my own heart, and I'm being authentic, and then I'm being cooperative, meaning I'm not going to be angry, I'm not going to whatever, and I just do what's there for me to do, eventually it will shift. And what I want and need and will show up. And I've seen this time and time and time again. So not only am I being cooperative with the situation then becomes cooperative with me in the sense that I'm now fulfilling my own heart.
And in today's society, there are a lot of people who are complaining of being very lonely. And then sometimes they feel like they're afraid of interacting, or afraid of getting hurt, or whatever. Cooperation can allow you to interact, but without this fear.
Without the pressure, right?
Without the pressure and the fear.
Yeah.
And do it without expecting anything. And you find that gradually your heart opens up, and then that loneliness also goes away.
And also, you don't have to create new circumstances. Everybody has circumstances.
Yeah,
just do it within the circumstance that you already have.
Yeah.
We don't have to create anything. It's already there. Cooperation could also mean being with what you already have.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't have to do anything extraordinary.
No.
It's the simple things right around you, in your own family, in your own environment, in your own community, in your own church. I mean, it's in your own political group, wherever, you'll see it does a lot for your heart.
It's the most powerful spiritual value, or it's the most elevated spiritual power, is cooperation.
And it's based on the laws of karma.
That's right.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll finish there, and we'll see you next time. All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.